Hello, girlfriends, and welcome to Girlfriend2Girlfriend. I'm Jabbour, and I'm so happy to welcome you this evening. It's so good to see everyone, and I'd be remiss if I didn't thank each and every one of you for supporting our community of girlfriends. Like I say, it's all about paying it forward one girlfriend at a time, and each one of you has certainly made a difference in my life. I love everyone's comments and posts and participation, especially the past couple of weeks where I put up some pretty fun memes on Facebook. So thank you to all of you. This evening, we were going to be joined by my really good friend, Michelle Gadsden-Williams, who's the author of the book Climb. And she was going to not only discuss her book, but discuss her journey, not only being an incredible leader in our business community, but also some of the difficult challenges that she's faced with her health. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it this evening, so we're going to welcome her back in a couple of weeks. So please stay tuned for our new date for when she's going to be joining us. So back in the hot seat this evening is my good friend and girlfriend, Jane Hanson, who's down in sunny Florida. And hi, Jane, there you are.
How are you? It's great to see you. So Michelle has this brand new job since last we spoke with her.
Yes.
She's now the head of diversity and inclusion at BlackRock, which is this major financial firm. I mean, like, that girl's a rock star.
She really is.
So I can't wait to talk to her about that, because I've been doing a lot of work in that space too. And, you know, there's so much about moving it forward and where they're all going now with, you know, Black Lives Matter and really a focus on women and et cetera, et cetera. So she's going to have such great stuff. So
she really is, and she's going to parlay it, you know, to the now, and she's living it. She has worked so hard in her career, and it's just so admirable. I mean, you know, we both have similar backgrounds, just as you do. You know, we've all grown up in this industry, right? You know, being working women. And she's really at the forefront, very admirable position, and I'm excited. Also, she's writing another book. I mean, if you're just not that busy, you might as well make yourself extra busy.
What
You
the
know what I'm
heck?
saying?
Like, take a great new job and write a book. I mean, I've been trying to write a book for like 10 years.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten there yet. I got a couple of outlines. So yeah, she's just an amazing person. And the fact that she has a twin sister totally
Yes,
cracks me up.
I know.
Have you ever met her twin?
No, but I think that would be fun. If I think her name is Monique, we'll have to have Michelle and Monique on. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm making that up, or maybe not. But in any case, we'll catch up with her.
I have twin cousins, girls that are just about 9 months younger than me. And when I was a little girl growing up, they drove me crazy because they were truly identical. And sometimes you get mistaken and you had to really learn who was the devil, who was the saint.
I'm sure their teachers enjoyed that a lot.
They looked different as they got older, but
oh, did they?
Yeah. But you know,
that was good. We have twins in our family, but
even though they live, you know, hundreds of miles apart, it's so interesting. They still know when the other one is having a bad day or something. So I'd love to know about Michelle and her sister Monique about that too.
They were womb buddies, so they speak that other language.
I know. I love that. Wouldn't you love that? I mean, you got all those sisters. I have no sisters. I've wanted a sister my whole life. I kept praying for one and I never got one. I love my brothers, but it's a whole different ballgame.
Well, I'm happy to share. There's 5 older sisters.
But don't you send them to me when they're in trouble, because that will really irritate the hell out of me.
Hey, well, I think the first introduction should be that you just come and join us for a meal, see how it goes. You'd be a real standout with your blonde hair, just saying.
You'd be like this. Or maybe not. Did you get this stuff from Dr. Darryl?
I did.
Acid kicking black coffee alkalizer.
Yeah.
It just arrived. And you know, I gave up coffee. I kicked my coffee, but it says tea on it. So I'm dying to try it.
Yeah, I'll be interested to know how you do. And I actually wrote to them today and I said, you guys need to come on again in March and talk to us about kicking acid and following up to this great box that arrived. Mm-hmm. I learned that I think 2 dozen viewers actually went and ordered the book.
Fantastic.
So people, it's a movement. We are going to all be off of our sugar, eating healthy, going more, green. It's really, it's so far for me. I've been making the soup every Sunday.
I love that.
So,
I love soup anyway, because and especially this time of year, it's just wonderful. So
well, in a couple of weeks, we'll have him back and it'll be, he was a lot of fun. We need an hour with him.
exactly. I think we took an hour, frankly. I'm pretty
I think
sure it
so
went
too.
over.
So to switch gears, we decided that we were going to talk about the skinny and what it's really like separating. We both are separated or have been separated from our spouses.
Mhm.
And as we were talking in the green room, just a little bit about COVID, it's a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of deaths, a lot of separations and divorces, and certainly a lot of babies being born as
Mhm.
a result of COVID. But also, it's been out there for years.
Right.
People
Uh,
separating.
the lawyer that I have, who's I'm working with, told me that he has never been so busy in his whole life. And he does, the whole gambit of things. So it's a very interesting place to be um, in this world. I mean, I think when COVID started, didn't we all say to ourselves, death, divorce, birth?
Baby boom.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we've got some new babies either here or en route in my family, which I love. Then we've also had some people that have had, some issues. So
Yeah. And it's not easy. And I know I've said this before on the show, nobody gets married to get divorced, nobody gets married to get separated. And it's certainly not anyone's intent. It's not a fun place to be. It's difficult, it's challenging, and it's raw. And if there's kids that are involved, I mean, it's more than just the two adults who are uncoupling,
right.
which is, I really, Gwyneth Paltrow, people were making, a lot of noise about that statement that they were uncoupling, consciously uncoupling.
Mhm.
But I find that to be remarkably real because if you do consciously uncouple and do it appropriately, as painful as it is, it can be less less painful on those around you if you consciously remember how it's going down.
Right. And that whatever your behavior is at this moment in time is something you're going to live with for
Yes.
your life. So I think it's really important to keep that in mind because there's so much resentment, anger, fear, um, sadness, etc. That I think it takes a very long time for people to actually get through all of that, longer than you think. And I think you all need to give yourself time. I mean, don't you find that time is so
Yeah, for me, time has always been an incredible healer. I also tell my girlfriends that the grass isn't always greener.
Mhm.
And sometimes, the separation is a time to heal and refresh. And for those couples that can get back together, I think it's remarkable.
Mhm.
But, just don't throw something away unless there's a real issue. And, I know I had real issues. Not that it made it any easier to throw away years and years being married, but the reality is that it's 100% you and 100% your ex. You both have to, it's 100% of both of you in this equation.
Mhm.
And yeah, no, it's people say 50-50. It's really not. It's
Well, I
really
mean,
not. It's all of you getting divorced. It's your mind, your body, your soul. It's your, and think about all your friends that are affected and your family. And it's a lot.
and I think that this whole notion of you can't control other people's actions, but you can control how you react. And that is a hard lesson to learn because the things that probably got you to the place that you're at had a lot to do with the reactions too.
Mhm.
And so now you're trying to figure out, how do I react differently? First, it's how do I react differently to make it better? And then it's how do I react differently so that I'm accountable to myself and that I'm also doing the best job I can to be fair which is a hard word, right? And to
Mhm.
be honest and to really take a look deep inside yourself. I mean, there's really an opportunity to grow and learn too, I think, but that's hard to do, really hard to do.
It's I know this is going to sound so crazy, but peeling back the onion on yourself is really important.
Yeah.
And I know that as I've matured, I've learned how to take a step back, take a breath. It sounds like so crazy, but sometimes we tend to be too reactionary. And
Hmm.
even now, no matter where I am in my life, if there's something that's really bothering me, instead of being so reactionary, I take a step back. I'm like, wait, do I need to react? Which way should I react? And I think with whether it's in a marriage or your relationship, with a partner or at work, we tend to be too emotional,
Hmm.
and taking the heavy emotion out of the equation can be helpful.
It's one of the things that women are always accused of, whether it be, and I do some of this in my work, which has, it's all about business, but um, women are sometimes male bosses or male peers are afraid to give us really honest feedback because they're afraid of us getting emotional and crying and all of that. And so we don't get what we really want, is the real feedback. So if you now take that to this place where it's really emotionally driven, which is your home, your relationship,
Mhm.
your love, and then try to figure out, how do I not be defensive? How do I stop and say, wait a minute, one of the reasons I got here is because of those buttons that were being pushed, and I can't
Exactly.
be pushed any
Mhm,
longer.
mhm.
And sometimes it really changes things.
Oh,
Really
for me, it has.
changes
For me, I've learned how to just take it back a notch. Don't take things so hard. And it's just not with being, getting separated. I mean, that was really difficult for me because, I'm gonna nope, like I said, nobody gets married to get divorced. I wanted to be with my husband forever. It didn't work out. But
right.
now that I've been through it, a friend of mine said to me that they're striving to find a partner who makes them better, who
Well, that's
helps
very
them.
admirable, but I think the
But
only person
that's
that's going to make you better is you.
but think about that, because if you're with someone, and I think it's very interesting, if you're with someone who you admire as being, better than you, you're going to shine even more. And
Absolutely.
so I think that that's a really neat thing to say. Um, I know that when I got separated and the kids were so little and people felt sorry for me, and I didn't want anyone to feel sorry for me.
The other. I hate.
I was like, no, I'm okay. I just want to feel better. Yes, it was hard. Yes, it stunk. I was devastated and all that. But if it wasn't for, and I know this sounds so cliche, but if it wasn't for my girlfriends, who really helped me triumph over the situation, I wouldn't be where I am, and really poked me in the eye. I mean, one of my girlfriends told me, she's like, if you don't stop crying, like I think I cried for 6 weeks straight. I had sunk in everything. Everything was sunk. She said, you're losing yourself in the emotion.
Mhm.
And
But there's,
I,
yeah, but there's nothing wrong with a good cry too.
well,
I
I
mean,
think I cried though for 6 weeks, Jane. It was like,
well, that's a long cry.
yeah,
Long cry,
yeah,
baby. Um,
yeah.
so, I think, you know, from a practical point of view, we all want these kind of instant solutions, right?
Yep.
And there is none.
There is no book.
Yeah. And every person's thing is different. The part that I think is really hard is that unconscious or conscious uncoupling, whatever it is all of a sudden that point about not being a couple is really difficult because,
Hmm.
I mean, look at the communities that we're in. For the most part, most people we know tend to be a couple, right?
Yes,
And then
yes.
all of a sudden you're not. And the times, I think it's really hard for people to feel like, oh, I'm the fifth wheel. I don't get invited to things. And because
Oh, my mother used to say, Jane, nobody wants a beautiful, single, divorcee at their table.
Mhm.
It's like, you're never going to be, and that's sad.
Yeah, it is, because these people, they're still your friends. Like,
Hmm.
so, um, so I think that can be very difficult too. Um, and then, then there's all this, like the holidays can be the worst time, because you have all these traditions and all of a sudden the traditions are broken.
Yeah. You have to start new ones, and and I also think it all depends on where you are in your life.
Yeah.
Your age, how old you're, if you have children, how old they are, what the circumstances were. But there's so many different triggers. I know, like, if you lose someone and you're going to the funeral, and your partner was a part of that whole,
Oh,
other
yeah.
family or that whole extension, right? It's very difficult.
And it's like the first Christmas, the first um, Valentine's Day, the first whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it's interesting, because I have a couple of friends, dear friends, who've lost their spouses in the last year. Neither one of them were COVID related, but in both cases it was cancer. Um, and so now they're going through all these firsts, and it's interesting to watch the difference between when somebody's a widow
Mhm.
and when they're separated or divorced. And because there's a certain finality that they have that I don't think ever, it takes a long time to get to that point where you're thinking, if only I'd done this differently, if only I'd done this differently.
Well,
So,
and the thing with, divorce versus widowed is that that wasn't your choice.
right, exactly.
You both didn't, decide to, end it. And that's very, very difficult. I have a couple of friends that, I want to wring their necks because they're divorced. They're divorced, yet they still want to maintain a relationship with their ex when their relationship together was so unhealthy,
Yeah.
and it's still unhealthy. And I think that's very difficult too.
Are you
So
having sex with them?
one of them is.
Well, that's not a really efficient uncoupling, is it?
No, no. And like, and I say to her, I'm like, where's this going? And what are you doing to yourself? And honestly, it's hard to give any type of ear, empathetic or sympathetic,
Mhm.
because we've been down this road. But what is that? It's a behavior that's very hard to change. You're used to being in a negative relationship with
Right.
negative attention. You need to cut the cord, and
Yep.
that's really hard. And it's not about a booty call. You need to, if you're divorced and that's over, and mind you, the spouse has moved on, the
Mm,
ex-spouse.
mm,
Yes.
mm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the tangled web.
So, how many different therapists have you seen, with or without the ex?
Oh, so honestly, so I'm divorced twice. The first divorce, I saw a great therapist, family therapist, that the kids and I went to. They were little. And then the
Mhm.
second divorce, I saw a therapist just on my own. And it was really, I had a very healthy approach to both of them, honestly, because after recognizing that I was crying for 6 weeks and like, who's going to cry in my soup with me? I needed to take all of me and get my ass, into a chair and just figure this whole thing out. And once I realized that I had nothing to do with the sickness that was inside my ex's mind, um, and I reconciled myself to the fact that I can do this on my own. I'm strong, I'm capable,
Mhm.
I have an army behind me. This will happen. But it sounded like it went from 0 to 60 really quickly, but there was a lot of
Oh,
steps in
yeah.
between.
Oh my God, there's so many steps. No, I'm just curious, because I have met a lot of women recently in their um, 50s, I'd say 50s and early 60s, who are in the process of separating. And you can feel this sadness coming off of them, which is
Mhm.
one of the things that attracts me to them, because you just feel this kind of empathy, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's an interesting process to see people who are just encountering those decisions and how do they deal with them. And no two stories are alike. They
No,
just aren't.
no. And I had a girlfriend that said to me, Allie, I just can't stand the thought of being alone.
Yeah.
And loneliness is the worst. That's the worst part of the whole scene. That is the scene. That the lonely scene is not a fun scene.
Well, yeah, but I think that that's the biggest hurdle that one has to get
Mhm.
over in any part of your life is you come into this world alone and you're going to leave it alone. And so, however, you've got to be happy with just being with yourself. I think that's really, really important.
It's a big step and a lot of mature pants on. But once you get there, it feels really good.
Yeah,
You
because
know?
then I think you become a much more attractive and intriguing and fun
Yes.
partner for anybody else. But I don't think, and there's a lot of stuff out there during COVID about self-care. I mean, it's the biggest thing I see
Oh
is
yeah.
this movement about self-care, loving yourself, putting yourself first,
Oh,
and all of that.
and which you,
Especially for women, because I mean, the numbers of women who are leaving their jobs are staggering because they just can't do it all.
yeah.
And so when you think about that and just, then you back that up to this notion of relationship trouble, and you have to be, the one thing that isn't happening is that whomever you're separating from is not your advocate in this process.
Yeah. Don't think they are. The perfect segue to a book that I wanted to share, and I know that it has like a very profound title, called Unfuck Yourself, by Gary John Bishop. But this is a really interesting read for people that are going through a challenging time. And I'm just going to read a line out of it that just resonated. And I think that this could help, people listening that are facing a challenge in their relationship, but most of all in their relationship with themselves, because we are fighting often with ourselves.
Yeah. And
And
by the way, one point to that is that we treat our best friends, our family, our partner, we treat everybody better than we treat ourselves.
100%,
And if we talk to ourselves in our own head, they'd
yeah.
be like, "Are you kidding? I'm out of here, man."
So true. So true.
So
So here
yeah,
here it goes. It isn't other people that are standing in your way. It isn't even your circumstances that are blocking your ability to thrive. It's yourself and the negative self-talk you keep telling yourself.
bingo.
And so I definitely encourage, check out this book. It's just a selfless plug here, but I just, I think I've recommended it to people. It's almost like, remember when Move Your Cheese, what was that book?
Oh yeah, yeah,
If you're going to
uh,
move your cheese or whatever. Like, I
yeah.
feel like this is very appropriate for whether it's, personal or professional, because in both worlds, you really can get into your own head. And when you're getting divorced or separated, you know, you put a lot on yourself.
Of course you do, because you
And
keep this. That's what we do.
yes,
Oh,
and
if I only hadn't done that. Oh,
right. If I was only a blonde, whatever, if I was
I got
just this,
die
if
for
I
you if you
was,
want it.
but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You
of
know,
course. So I have a question. Who gave you that book in the first place? How'd you find it? Did somebody give it to you, or did you find it?
no, no one gave it to me. I it was in my Facebook feed. Somebody referred to it. And I
Uh-huh.
was like, oh, fuck yourself.
I'm
I'm like,
because
wait, what? Is that really a book? And then I looked it up and then I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to order it on Amazon,
yeah.
because I just thought, intriguing title. And it's a New York Times bestseller. Yeah, it's got some interesting tidbits in it, I mean, heck, when it comes to relationships now, we're in this virtual world and every single relationship is precious. So
Yeah.
whether we're face to face or on camera, we have to treat every relationship with kid gloves, in my opinion, even more so now.
And
And
also ourselves.
yes, yes.
And
So as for you traversing, your situation, being separated, it's not easy.
mm-mm,
It's not easy. I know
mm,
it's not fun, but it is what it is at this point in your life, and you're making the best of it.
right. And I think that's the most that you can ask of yourself,
Yeah.
right? Is to just try to figure out how do I put one foot in front of the other some days, and then and also how am I kind to myself, and how do I become a better person? How do I learn from it? My I might have said this before, but my aunt who just died, and she was 100, my father's sister, and I asked her why she was always so happy and always so good, and she goes, "It's about your attitude. Fix your attitude." And her
Hmm.
husband died when she was in her when I did the math, and she was like in her 50s when she became a widow, and so she lived for a very long time. Um, Without a partner, and yet she managed to find sunshine every single day.
Isn't that great? I love that. Someone said to me, and it was a phenomenal compliment, you're always so up, you're always so happy. And I said, you know what? I live to live.
Yep.
And I get up early, I live my day, I look at things with a positive attitude. Doesn't mean that things aren't hard and I'm pulling my hair out at times, but you know what? I am here and I'm living, and I feel like I'm at the best part of my life.
Can I tell you, I've believed that from you because I've known you for a long time. And I see an Allie today that is so different than the one that I first met, just in terms of the way you express yourself, the way you show care for people, the things you think about, even the fact that you're doing this. This
Oh,
this was been this, girlfriend thing, the Girlfriends Club was a dream of yours for a very long time. And now here it is, and you're doing great stuff with it. So
thank you.
it's so I think, there you are.
I'm
So
trying
whatever
to.
you're doing is working.
Well, and I think, just back to the beginning, it's just taking care of you, right? Taking care of yourself and putting a little bit more of me into my cup of tea and taking care
Exactly.
of who I need to be. Um, and I know that this is a conversation that we will be having many times over
Well,
because
we
it's
could get into
important.
great detail if
I
anybody
know
wanted it.
I know
Oh,
the whole intimacy conversation, like I need to, I've been telling my girlfriend, I said to her, if you're going to be intimate with your ex, which I don't even want to know about, honestly,
yeah,
you're just
please don't.
hurting, you're just hurting yourself more.
I know.
You want it out because you deserved better. So, all right, it's 8 o'clock. We have to sign off because we promised our girlfriend Jenna.
Yep. So
So,
good. She's
so
managed to muffle us.
I know we're on mute in her life. Anyway, thank you everyone for tuning in. Jane, love you.
It says, see you soon. All right.
Happy. Bye, everybody.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
See you
Bye.
next week. Bye.